Clash Royale competitions, but I don't know. Has he met his match in Razzer? Has he prepared well enough? Is he going to be able to kick our king off of the hill? We'll just see.
Well, the one advantage that Team QUESO has is scouting. You just watched 3 Razzer games in a row, and you might have an idea of what kind of decks he's going to play. All right, so on stage, or on the camera, you're seeing in the center a 3-0. What that is the win streak for a given player. So Razzer is currently on a 3-game win streak. If Diego B wins, Razzer will go to 0, and off the stage, Diego B will get a little red 1 next to his name.
Yeah. And move on, trying to defeat the rest of eSports.
Oh no, Flying Machine's out of range of the tower. It's 1 square outside of the tower's range.
Oh, bad result for Diego. Really was trying to get that Ice Golem to block the damage while the tower shot down the Flying Machine.
Oh, Flying Machine, you're so tough to deal with. Now, Executioner's going to come here against the Lava Hound. Expect maybe a tornado to pull all of those troops together, and Executioner's big splash damage to do some serious work.
Opts for the log instead. Lots of ground-based action coming in from Razzer on defense, but a balloon to follow up, and the Executioner swinging the wrong way. Mega Minion finishes him off, and it's a defensive poison that won't be able to finish off all these troops. The balloon's getting awfully close. The big drop coming on in. Diego B with the tears, as a lot of damage is storming on in. Razzer with another strong start.
Razzer once again playing the Lava Loon deck he ran earlier with Flying Machine and Mega Minion as its primary support troops. What I noticed about this, every single troop in his deck, not easy to remove from spells. Mega Minion will survive Fireball, Guards survive Log and Zap, Flying Machine requires a Fireball or Poison to get rid of it, and Balloon doesn't even die to Rocket. So every single troop in his deck is very spell resistant, making it difficult for you to just, I'll use a Poison and get rid of all of it.
On defense now, Razzer up on top, going to take a lot of chip damage. These guards have connected in a major way, defending with guards of his own, but the big commitment with that Lava Hound at the left lane left him a little bit high and dry. This might wind up being a 2-1 match if Razzer can't hold on to the defense out the right lane.
Lucky there for Diego B. He had the guards behind his Hog Rider, and the Mega Minion was swinging on the guard shield, the guard skeleton bodies. Oh, great tornado's going to pull them all together. Will another Executioner shot take out the Flying Machine? It does. Now, Balloon still does connect the tower, but it only gets 1 drop as the Poison and tower finishes it off. Diego B is winning right now, 2-1. He has 2 very damaged towers, but he only needs to hold on for 30 more seconds to knock Razzer off the hill and end his 3-game win streak.
1 fireball dropped on that right side tower would be enough to put this thing into overtime. Razzer is going to be marching down the left lane once again with a big Lava Hound Mega Minion push. But as we've seen before, Executioner is a great counter to those little swarms that he's been setting up. The Lava Hound has got plenty of hit points, but with the splash damage from that Executioner, he's been swiping down most of these pushes pretty well. And a balloon aggressively placed right on top. Razzer and Diego B are in a base race. Hog Rider and guards going straight for that left side tower. Razzer on defense with a tombstone, can't keep him off, but that's not going to be a tower out the left lane for either player. 500 hit points remain, and Diego B is going to be going on the counterattack next. Another Hog Rider added on top of this push.
Keeping that Executioner alive has been huge. The Flying Machine gets taken out. Fireball comes down, and Diego B does it. Razzer of Nova Esports, his 3-game win streak is over. Team QUESO, the new team challenging for the hill, is going to knock off Nova Esports Ringer, and Diego B will stay on stage as we wait to see if B-Rad comes up. It is B-Rad. A Canadian on Nova Esports, one of the considered the best minor player on Earth. But during last year's fall season, when we had bans in the format, almost everybody banned B-Rad's minor so they didn't have to play against it. And what we saw that season was B-Rad evolve into one of the best Hog Rider players in the world when he wasn't able to play minor. He finished 3rd in the fall season behind CMQ and
in the fall season,
Music
Master.
Music Master, of
Yes.
course. Music Master, CMQ, and then B-Rad finished 3rd. Definitely a tough competitor. Diego B is familiar with him from many competitions and tournaments before, so we'll see who walks away as the winner after this next game.
Breathing a sigh of relief, a very hotly contested game there, and a super aggressive Hog Rider push from Diego B. A bit of a Hail Mary attack as he was being hit himself, but being able to push his opponent off. Diego B holding on to the hill now with that 1 win. We'll see if he is able to tie up against our current champion from Nova Esports. Razzer did very well with that 3-0 streak. We'll see. Since this is a fresh matchup, though, it was 3v3 right off the bat. It's now a 3v2 as QUESO, with the dominating position, will be trying to get Nova Esports' B-Rad kicked off.
B-Rad's coming out. We'll see what he is playing today. Now, Diego B opening up with a Goblin Hut, one of the most popular buildings in Clash Royale right now. Costs 5, good amount of hit points, and it's going to make a Spear Goblin every couple seconds, and it really puts a lot of pressure on the lane that it's played in. It's really hard to ignore those Spear Goblins, especially when something like Miner is tanking the tower and they can build up.
Fantastic play from Diego B on defense out here. Sends in the Ice Golem to be able to block that Miner. That's a 2 for 3 positive elixir trade for him out there. And you're definitely right, Roundham. These Goblin Huts never really seem to build up a massive push, but with 50 damage per spear, that's a great, reliable way to get little bits of chip damage in here and there. And with both of these players running Goblin Hut, we can expect this to be a very long, drawn-out, defensive, heavy, mind game type of match.
And Inferno Dragon's going to come down and lock onto that right away. Now, Mega Minion will be there to kill the Inferno Dragon, but that 5-cost Goblin Hut is still a casualty. Good elixir trade for B-Rad there. He got a 4 for 5 trade. And now he can use his Zappies on defense to keep that Mega Minion from doing too much.
And you're starting to see a little bit of the, the tech choices from these players to accompany their Goblin Hut decks. We've got Dark Prince, Miner, Bandit, some relatively heavy ground-based options from B-Rad so far, with the Inferno Dragon, up on top flying high for the finishing blows against heavier troops. Diego B's running a little bit more of a mid-range deck, the Musketeer, Mega Minion, Guards combo. Never really relies on any one of those 3 troops to get the damage in, but just, has so many different options to deal with what's coming at him. He's going to be able to defend pretty well at the right side, but takes a big beating out the left lane. 2 hits from the Dark Prince, takes the tower down to 19-16.
Goblin Hut being played very far up for Diego B in all cases. And he's not once played it in the pocket between the 2 towers.
Right.
He wants it up in the middle there to draw aggro from anything that might be played at either bridge.
Doesn't want to get Snickerdoodle, having a Hog Rider or some other surprise card coming in at the last moment to try to knock that building down and go for the tower right afterwards. We haven't seen the 8th card from either of these players yet, and it could be a surprise pick, but with pretty minimal damage so far. Both of their weaker towers are at 1900. B-Rad and Diego P playing very careful defensive styles right now.
I would expect that B-Rad's last card is Poison, because you almost always see Miner and Poison together in some way, but it could be in an even bigger spell like Rocket. I'd be surprised that he had a Miner Poison to any of these Goblin Huts, so that makes me think it maybe not his Poison.
The kind of awkward thing for B-Rad, though, is that he's trying to push left lane most of the time. He's gotten more damage out the left lane, but he's having to defend against right lane, and he can't really build up a big push with his Goblin Hut. A very aggressive Graveyard out the back right. Diego B dumping 5 elixirs worth of spell damage out there, spawning those skeletons as quickly as he can. Dark Prince is decent defense against him, but you already see that tower going down to 1350 and holding on to the damage lead now. Diego B will be able to push back what little remains from B-Rad's counterattack.
Diego B, though, did go all in with that Graveyard and lose the advantage that he had. He had more Goblin Huts on the board than his opponent, and they both are basically playing their new Goblin Hut right now. And I think B-Rad was able to defensively sort of set up and reset the board back into a position he's more happy with. Defensive Poison comes down and offensive Poison comes down, working on the Goblin Hut and the tower. Defensive Poison picking off all the skeletons, keeping it from overwhelming his tower. But B-Rad's tower is in triple digits right now, as Diego B is maybe looking to pull a Razzer and wipe out that team.
Sticky orange goo dropping the tower down to 933. B-Rad tries to set the pacing for the game, sending in a Miner into the back left lane. Diego B just soaking all of the damage here, taking a lot, going down to 772, and it looks like he's got the damage lead now. It's all about which player can set the pacing for the game, demand that lane be the main course of action. B-Rad trying to push it back to the left, but taking a big hit from the Graveyard out the right side, and a very awkward defense against this Mega Minion now. Bandit to soak a lot of the damage, but Mega Minion got awfully close there. Right side down to 632. Diego B holds a slight lead right now.
The Zappies providing exceptional defense every time they're being split, and they're so hard to remove individually as well as stunning and hitting the Goblin Huts there in the middle. It's providing just insane defense for B-Rad that's allowing him to hold on.
Defensive Miner there from B-Rad, a bit of an awkward play again, but he's doing what he can to keep the tower up. You typically want to get that Miner onto the opponent's side of the arena. It's great that you can actually drop a troop on your opponent's side of the arena. Most of your troops have to be played on your side of the bridge there, but using that Miner on defense there, chips down all the skeletons. It goes in offensively. exclusively now. B-Rad ahead in the game, chipping that left side down to 452. It's awfully close. Poison Cycle could be the determining factor here with just a couple more spells to finish the tower off. A Graveyard at the right side. B-Rad under attack. 2 poisons, 1 on offense and 1 on defense. Could mean a lot of damage for Diego B here.
Oh, here
Does he get the final blow? Log rolls through, and that'll do it. The offensive poison gets the final tick. Diego B claiming victory.
And it just looks like back and forth, these teams are dominating one after the other. Diego B knocks off Razzer, who is 3-0, knocks off B-Rad in one game, and we have a new player for Nova joining the stage. Now, I'm gonna make sure I get this name right. Asuchini. Asuchini is the newest Nova signing. He has joined the team here today, and he's coming up as the 3rd member of Nova's roster. Now, we saw Razzer earlier perform really well. It looks like Diego B is going to go talk to his teammates. What deck should I play? What's the strategy I should have here?
Yeah, doing a little bit of consulting here. Of course, they have a little bit of an opportunity to mix up their decks just a little bit. They can play whatever deck they want. Any of the, 80+ cards in game are available to them. Each of these players running with 8 card decks. If you're new to Clash Royale, it's a mobile game that lets you construct an 8-card deck from any of the 82 that currently exist in game. There's a very highly developed metagame right now, and so the strategies that these players are discussing right now are often going to be targeted specifically against the opponents that they're going up against. We haven't seen the full roster from Nova yet, so Diego B going back to the drawing board here will be trying to formulate a plan to be able to hold on to or rather to take the hill from Nova and claim the first point.
That's right. If you're joining us from
QUESO.
the Twitch homepage, Clash Royale is a big mobile esport that combines the best of RTS games, MOBAs, card games, and more into a slick 3-minute package. And these players today are some of the best in the world competing in a 3-on-3 team format. So let's take a refresh on our team setup here. We've got Nova Esports down to their last player, Team QUESO. Dominating so far with Diego B, the first player on their lineup, has taken out 2 of Nova Esports' players. Now, if Nova loses this last game, then all of Team QUESO will be available to fight Immortals, who's coming up next. But if we go deeper into this match and Team QUESO loses a few players, whichever team is remaining will have to just fight with their remaining players. There are no refreshes, no revivals. It is last man standing every match.
And Nova's last man standing is on the stage now. Asuchini from Nova Esports trying to dethrone Diego B, who currently moved up to the top. A very aggressive move from Diego B at the left side. He's going to send in an Ice Golem to tank for a Battle Ram. Now, if it goes straight for the tower, it could get a lot of damage in there. It's ignoring the Goblin Hut, but Ewiz and Mega Minion will be able to shut it down. Barbarian's trying to chop apart this Ewiz, but a fantastic defensive troop and getting some great value, shocking and resetting the Inferno Beam on that Dragon out to the left side. Asuchini's turn to attack has come now.
I'm really excited to see Asuchini. It's always great when a new player enters the scene, and that's going to be something we see a lot in the Clash Royale League this year, as teams are able to sign anybody they want from the 20-win challenge. So expect to see some of these teams, whichever end up in the Clash Royale League, to sign some of the best players, and you're going to have to do that from just scouting. You're just going to have to see who's out there. What unknown diamond in the roughs can you take for your up-and-coming esports org?
He certainly is up against a diamond player. Diego, not in the rough, though. We've seen plenty of him before. Can Asuchini prove that he deserves this spot with the top team today? This is a great opportunity against one of the top players in the world. Nice zap there.
Is a very new player to Nova. He just apparently signed in the last week. Just checking his Twitter. And he's just like, wow, finally on Nova, I'm so happy.
Welcome, yeah, what a debut to come out, signed for Nova Esports, and then to perform at South by Southwest here in the Kings of the Hill event.
Well, now that we've seen almost all the cards from both decks, what we have here, Diego B is running a deck that we call Bridge Spam, and the idea is that when your opponent shows any sort of weakness, when you have any sort of resource advantage, you're going to drop a bunch of charging troops at the river. The Battle Ram, 3rd card in the row, Dark Prince number 5 and Bandit number 6, all of them run fast, dash, and go right for the tower. It's a lot of pressure that you put on your opponent. Meanwhile, Asuchini is playing a more defensive, grindy deck using Goblin Huts to establish pressure, and Graveyard, the 7th card in his deck list, to swarm skeletons on your tower from behind as the Goblins cross the river.
And what a way to show up at his first event. Asuchini with a huge hit out the right side has the dominating lead right now. That's a big push from Diego B to try to reclaim that advantage, but Asuchini has plenty of elixir to defend. He's playing very slowly, very methodically, just getting the damage in whenever he can and not worrying too much about these relatively large attacks coming on in from Diego B. The E-Wiz on defense, not good enough to stop this battle ram though, and it looks like Diego B getting his first little bit of chip damage up the left side. Fireballs that E-Wiz down, and the Dark Prince just a little bit too late to get the hit on tower will leave Asuchini with a major lead in this game.
Now he only needs 3 poisons to kill that tower, even if no other damage got done, but the Spear Goblins are getting in, adding 50 damage each spear, getting that ever closer. I think Diego B realizes his time is up and he's going all in on the left side, not even really defending the right side anymore because he knows he's going to lose if he plays defense at all.
The all-in push, but E-Wiz and guards is a monster combo for Diego B to have to deal with a primarily ground-based assault and his Inferno Dragon getting burnt up. Asuchini holds on to this left lane and drills in hard at the right side. Spear Goblins chipping it down. Nova will hold the hill yet.
Nova has 1 player left, and now Team QUESO has to dig into their bench to get the 2nd and 3rd player. Now what that means is that no matter which team wins this matchup, they're going to be short-staffed against Immortals, who's coming up next. And Immortals might be the most raw, talented, most accomplished team in today's event. We'll see how they stack up against some of the newcomers from Nova, or of course, the most established European team right now, Team QUESO. Oh, Adrian Piedra! The Aztec Eagle is stepping up onto stage right now. Give him the thumbs up. You can see the big old cheese on the side of his jersey.
That's right. If you know anything about competitive Clash Royale, you know that Adrian Piedra is an absolute monster. In the CCGS World Finals, he was there with the best of them. A quarterfinalist there, was also number 2 during both the spring and fall season of the Crown Championship Global Series LATAM region.
He finished 2nd in spring and 1 fall. He was able to bounce back and win fall. Sergio Ramos finished 2nd, but it was later that Sergio Ramos ended up winning the World Finals. Adrian Piedra, though, one of the original founding members of QUESO, great personality, the pride of Mexico. Like, all the Mexican players look up to him as sort of their community thought leader in the Mexican scene. He's honestly been one of the most influential Clash Royale players in its short competitive lifespan, going up against newcomer Asuchini for Nova Esports.
He was also on the championship team from Mexico for CR World Season 1, has had an amazing pedigree of over a year of competitive events. We'll see how the old dog performs up against Asuchini, the newcomer. Very interesting setup so far from Asuchini. Don't often see the skeleton army that you have marching into the left lane, but zap out of Adrian Piedra's hand might be an opportunity for Asuchini to get a big hit in here. Not any counter whatsoever from Adrian Piedra. Distracts a little bit with guards out the right side, but the Giant's going to get a massive strike in there. Instead, Adrian Piedra's going to soak all that damage at the left lane, dropping his tower and going in for the counterattack. Instead, Fireball will wipe out the minion horde, but not before it kills that balloon. Right side, it's going to be just a tiny bit of chip damage from the Lava Hound. Adrian Piedra losing the bulk of his push there with a very snappy, quick minion horde from Asuchini.
Interesting choice by Skeleton Army. I'm glad to see it come out. I wonder if it's out there because of this. Look how good it is against Flying Machine, you know what I mean? It distracts for a very long period of time. It's great against P.E.K.K.A., another very popular card in today's meta, great against Mega Minion. So ever since Goblin Gang came out, I feel like we haven't seen too much of Skeleton Army, but Asuchini is showing that that is a pretty, maybe an underrated card, maybe a diamond in the rough for those deck builders out there, finding uses for Skeleton Army over the more popular Goblin Gang.
Certainly could be, and a lot of these players are used to just kind of seeing the same, 9 to 10 decks in the metagame. It's really up to the players to create something new and innovative to get that surprise hit. I guarantee you Adrian Piedra would have kept Zap in his hand if he knew that a Skeleton Army was marching toward that left side tower. Had nothing to defend against it though, and that is the surprise hit that Asuchini was looking for in order to claim that 1-0 lead.
The tower's going to pick off this Mega Minion. Flying Machine's coming in. Will he zap the Skeleton Army or zap the Goblin Barrel? I really like the pressure that it puts on you there. When you Goblin Barrel the tower and play Skeleton Army on defense, your opponent only has 1 zap, and they got to figure out what they're doing with it.
It's pretty amazing to me that Asuchini got such a massive lead in the first minute of gameplay here. Running arrows and zap in his deck, he has plenty of answers to opponent swarms, but has got plenty of swarms himself. The Minion Horde, Skeleton Army, and Goblin Barrel each demand a spell in response, or at least something that can deal a lot of splash damage. Adrian Piedra lacking for that kind of damage is getting hammered once again. Right side's almost going to go down here. It does in fact go down. Giant for the one final punch to finish things off, and a minion horde right on top of this big aerial assault out the right lane. Fireball saves the balloon, but isn't there in time to even get a single tower? Not looking likely. Asuchini with the 2-0 stomp of the Aztec Eagle.
And a win streak, a 2-game win streak for Asuchini. Gets the fist bump from Adrian Piedra, respect from him, and now it's going to be Asuchini from Nova Esports against the last man standing for Team QUESO. It's Coltonw8 Tell me about Colton.
Absolutely, Colton has been playing for a very, very long time. He is one of the highest earners in the Clash Royale competitive scene.
10th all time.
Yeah, 10th of all time. Has made a ton of money and a ton of different events. Has traveled the world to compete for Team QUESO, the team that he's been with for a very long time now. He was #2 in the QUESO Cup back when they were doing their initial scouting to try to find players. Performed very well there and has wound up advancing in the North American region. He competed in the fall season and then wound up going on to World Finals by taking the win at the Invitational at the very end. So he was a World Finals competitor, made it to the round of 16 there, and was also the champion of GamerG #1, GamerG Masters, that took place a while back out in Spain. But looks like the team is finally ready to march on up. Colton looking confident in the zone. Gonna try to kick Asuchini off the pedestal. Now, the player that wins this matchup gets a point for their team. Very important to try to get as many team points on the board as possible. So this is an extremely important match for both players here now.
And you're gonna you get 1 point for a knockout, but then you also get an additional point for being Ultimo Hombre and holding the hill.
Yeah.
All right.
So it would. So Nova currently has 1 point to their name. They held the hill first up against Tribe, and so whichever player wins here gets a point for their team. Either it's going to be Nova holding onto the hill for another point, or QUESO kicking Nova off the hill to get a point for themselves.
Would Nova have 4 points because they got 3 knockouts and then the hill, and then they got? Is it every single player who gets knocked out get a point, or is it purely on teams? Yeah, I'm hearing that Woody is definitely correct. So Nova has 1 point right now.
Yes.
The player knockouts. Then when does that trigger? Is that only the final person of a team?
Well, we keep track of the player knockouts just so that we can keep an idea for which guys are on top right now. I think that might play into like the show matches that we'll have later. The players that have the most individual knockouts certainly deserve that recognition. But this is a team-based format, and the teams have got to hold on to the hill in order to get those points racked up.
Zappies are split behind the King Tower. 2 in the left, 1 in the right.
One of the newest cards to the game joined in with Hunters at the end, or Hunter rather, at the end of the 2017 competitive season. Haven't seen a whole lot of it yet, but it recently got buffed to hit both ground and air units.
And Asuchini, after losing his 2 teammates, he's the last person left on Nova, and he has taken out 2 of Team QUESO's players. Royal Ghost comes down, the invisible King comes out to clear out the Ice Golem. He's going to turn and fight the Electro Wizard next. Miner pops up to defend against the Graveyard, does a pretty good job minimizing the amount of damage that actually gets there. Colton loves his Graveyard, probably his most played and favorite win condition throughout his competitive career. Mega
Minion getting that triple crown, takes down the Royal Ghost, the Flying Machine, and gets a swipe on the Miner. Very good value for Colton there, but he is a little bit behind here now. You can see in the damage game, he's just about to try to catch up to Asuchini out the right lane, but Asuchini with the Goblin Hut already down will be able to pressure that right lane just a little bit more as both players approach 10 Elixir. Asuchini's going to hit it first, and let's see how he chooses to follow up. He's got a Royal Ghost moving in the back. Colton with a Goblin Hut of his own.
Asuchini still running the... Oh, there it is. I was going to say, I'm like, he's got the Goblin Hut, he's got the Flying Machine. What kind of deck is this? P.E.K.K.A., one of the most dominant defensive troops in the game, a 7-cost big beat stick, swings for the highest single damage in the game besides Sparky. So P.E.K.K.A's used there to just chop through buildings, big tanky defenders, and get to the tower. But great defense there by Colton, preventing the P.E.K.K.A. from reaching and the Zappies from locking on too much.
The big mama P.E.K.K.A. Asuchini sent in a Miner right in the back right pocket. Great positioning there. Able to take out Colton's Electro Wizard and kind of nullify this next push. It's a poison spell now from Asuchini, who is ahead in damage and can just rely on Spell Cycle at this point to be able to whittle away at Colton's tower, taking out that hut set up right behind that back right lane.
Oh, great timing on the Graveyard. 7 Elixir spent on Asuchini's P.E.K.K.A. Not great at defending, so you go in with the Skeleton Swarm. So much of his Elixirs tied up in that P.E.K.K.A. that just cannot clean out Skeletons fast enough. And Colton takes takes a good damage lead here. He just has to defend this P.E.K.K.A on the counterattack.
Big chunk out the right lane, but defending against a P.E.K.K.A is no easy task. Asuchini will now have a monster push set up over here on the right lane. P.E.K.K.A, Zappies, Royal Ghost, lots of damage stomping on in with a miner in the back to support. Poison chipping away at the tower, hitting the Electro Wizard, hitting the Goblin Hut, and taking a lot of damage off of Colton's right lane. 6:38 remains now, and Asuchini pulls ahead.
Asuchini with a huge elixir advantage right now, has about a 5 elixir advantage after that defense, so he can just sit back, kick his heels up, and try to use that elixir advantage for the win. You see Colton going in with a graveyard. He feels like he needs to turn this around right now, because if you just sit back, 500 damage beneath your opponent and down an elixir, it's just a matter of time.
Fantastic defense out the right side from that last graveyard hit. Asuchini with a very well-timed zap kept most of the damage off, and this time had no trouble defending whatsoever with the Royal Ghost. Plenty of splash damage coming on in from Asuchini on defense. Now just a little bit more chip from the miner out the back right side. Poison to take that right side tower down. Didn't even need the hit from the P.E.K.K.A. It's going to be a win